We hear a lot of perspectives on the Mankind podcast. Inclusion of a guest is not an endorsement of their views, and the opinions expressed here do not always represent the mission or values of the Mankind Project USA.
Well, folks, welcome. Boysen's going to take care of some technical stuff in here, but I want to welcome you all to a real-time live recording of the Mankind Podcast, the show where we break the molds of modern manhood to prove there is, in fact, more than one way to be a man. I'm your host, Brandon Clift, and I'm joined by my co-host, Boysen Hodgson. It's Boysen. Boysen and his wife just got back from a incredible trip out into Moab, Arches,
epic.
Canyonlands, just absolutely epic. Myself, as it's been a while since we've kind of checked in with what's been happening in our worlds. I know many of you have been following the show from the beginning. Obviously, if you followed the socials, we went through a pretty dramatic experience with our son and his health, which required us to spend a number of days in the ICU with him. But happy to report that Sonny is healthy and happy, and he's junky boy. He is thick boy. So they're all good signs. Pediatricians are happy, but certainly gave us the fright of our lives. And it put a lot of things in perspective as well as to like really what's most important. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of the main update. Boysen, you had a pretty wonderful trip. Anything else happening in the MKP world or your world?
Well, let's do the personal first. And the personal first is that we've also, you and I, just passed some milestones of anniversaries. So Kendra and I just celebrated our 21st wedding anniversary.
Shoot, don't tell my wife I forgot mine. 4 years.
Didn't forget. I commented on it.
I forgot it now. That's an update. 4 years of marriage. Yeah. There you go.
Yes. So celebration.
21, 4.
Yeah, epic out west in Moab. And I think that just how big the world is and how big the sky is and how big the rocks are. It was really good to be off grid for a few days and be out in nature. And we found some beautiful, beautiful places. We did a couple of hikes, not in the national parks, out in other little parks. And we did this one hike that took us 4.5 miles up a canyon to a large natural bridge. And a natural bridge means that it's over water. So it's a big arch over water. And we were completely alone most of this hike. Like, we arrived at this incredible bowl in this canyon with this huge arch and the cold water flowing down, and we just hung out. And yeah, so I have a lot of rejuvenation, and also just shout out in the Mankind Project world. So I was in Colorado Springs for the Mankind Project's U.S. Gathering of Elders. There were almost 100 folks in the room, men and women from all over the country. They had a 2-day program that was all kinds of heart connections and connections with each other and some achievement and some tools and skill building for eldership as we know it in the Mankind Project and Women Within, one of our sister organizations. And
tell us about those
folks. Yeah.
I mean, and you rocked it, man. You knocked it out of the park. But for people listening that may otherwise not know or understand the idea of eldership, like, just give us the skinny, the high level of what eldership actually is, what it means for not just our organization, but beyond.
Beautiful. And I'll just tag into what I spoke to the elders about in that context, which was, in the Mankind Project, we kind of understand, and in Women Within and organizations like this, personal development, we understand the role of elders as conveners and welcomers and validators.
Mm.
The elders bring folks together. The elders in the Mankind Project, when a group of elders, a group of guys who are recognized as elders sit down, they can get people to the table.
Mm.
In the work that we do on our training programs, elders play a distinct welcomer role.
Mm.
They have roles where they are some of the first, like, really eye-to-eye, face-to-face connections that guys going through our programs get. And the elders have the role of asking some pretty intense questions to set the tone for the journey that's coming.
Yeah.
So welcoming men into that. And then the idea of validators. So when all of this kind of, back to our conversation with Douglas Gillette from a couple of years ago, where he talked about here on this horizontal plane, things are a mess and there's conflict and there's all this stuff happening and all this stuff going on. And let's get to the vertical. Let's get to the grounded energy, and let's get to the energy of possibility, that axis mundi that we've talked about. And that's where the elder stands. The elder stands with that axis mundi. How can we validate what's happening here? How can we be grounded in our energy? And how can we hold that above space of possibility? And as Brandon likes to say, it's all about love, man.
Sure is. Sure is. Well, man, I'm so thankful you had that experience. And yeah, the elders are important because, I mean, back in the days, they were the ones who whisked away the boys for their rites of passage experiences. They were the ones that sent them off and the ones that welcomed them home. And that role is just paramount and pivotal in the transformation in the men's of boys and men in their lives. But I want to get into, I want to sink our teeth into what we've come together to talk about, which is something that is on the minds and hearts of the entire world right now, which is the passing of Dolly Parton, who has left an indelible mark on billions, safe to say, billions of people. I don't think there's many people in the world who aren't aware of Dolly Parton, beyond the makeup and the boobs and the hair and all of those things. Like, people really, really got to know Dolly for her story, from growing up remarkably poor. Like, just there is not much of a lower floor of destitute than being the fourth of 12 in Sevierville, Tennessee, in the hills of Tennessee, Locust Ridge, which is about, from where I'm sitting right now, about 80 miles away. And just, there's so much that can be pulled from Dolly's story. We're not going to be able to even scratch the surface in our time, but I really want to share the impact that she's had on my family's life here in living in East Tennessee, and my daughter's life in a really special way. So Boysen and I together are just going to discuss 80 years of legacy and what we can learn from someone like Dolly. You might be thinking, like, well, what can men learn from Dolly Parton? Sit back, open your heart, open your mind, open your ears, open your whole self to just some brief footnotes in a very long lived life and a lasting legacy.
Beautiful. I'm going to start with respect and actually pull in. So Dolly Parton passed away. Tim Curry passed away on the same day. And, so that's a particular kind of niche actor, niche performer. I love Tim Curry. I've always loved Tim Curry. Yeah. What I learned yesterday, Tim Curry's estate held back on announcing his death for an extra day in deference to Dolly Parton. And like,
I didn't
there
know
it
that.
is, right? Like, that's the respect that Dolly Parton commands or commanded or has the influence. And then I think you should say what you said about your workout crew, because I immediately got it. I immediately knew. I think that's a good place to lead.
I wasn't aware of that. That's really neat. So yeah, I love Tim Curry as well. So I was with my workout group this morning, and one of the guys posed a question of like, name a single figure in history that you will have the hardest time finding someone to say a bad thing about. And and this just pops to mind because I saw a post where someone showed a Twitter post from the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, and Donald Trump, and both of them were practically in lockstep of just, we have lost an icon, someone who has impacted the lives of so many. And just look at that, the juxtaposition there in a sense of the two different brands and what they stand for, and that says so much. And so this morning, man, we were racking our brains, and it's so funny. We came up with another person who just absolutely epitomized just wholeness and goodness. And I asked Boysen before we started recording, who do you think it is? And you said,
oh, let's take a break so that everybody has a moment to think about it. So who's somebody else that nobody would say a bad word about?
it's a beautiful
Rogers.
Day in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Could you be Rogers. So Mr. Rogers, Dolly Parton, there they are. And I mean, like, just the legacy of that alone. Now, about 3 years ago, give or take, or 2 years ago, we went to Dollywood, and which is just outside Pigeon Forge in Tennessee, near Gatlinburg. And in my mind, having not known much about Dollywood or been there, I just imagine kitschy, I just imagine cheap. And I was blown away. It is a world-class theme park and experience, and the roller coasters are terrifying and phenomenal. The food was great. The staff were just wonderful. They clearly loved their jobs. And we had my daughter dressed up as Dolly Parton because since she could talk, the first thing she ever requested on Alexa was, she goes, Laka, play Dolly Parton. Just play Jolene. She's always just adored Dolly Parton because we signed her up immediately to the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which was founded in the 90s and dedicated to the memory of her father who couldn't read. Like, they were so broke. Like, access to education was so difficult. And so since then, I'm jumping around a little bit. Since then, 332 million books have been sent on a monthly basis to children all over the world. And so if you're listening right now and you have a young child in your life who isn't currently signed up, they will get a book every month up until the age of 5, no cost. My son signed up, my daughter signed up. Every month she goes, I got my book from Dolly. And so we have our daughter dressed up as Dolly, and we're just loving the experience. And they have a replica. Her brother built a replica of their home in the park.
Oh, wow.
And her mother took their actual items, things they owned, and furnished it with them. So even though it's not the exact location, many of the items, and they all confirmed it is to scale, to size. It was, mate, 2 rooms. Like, I don't know, my balloons are coming up, but 2 rooms for 12 people, 14 people existing in this space. Just, it really puts it into perspective how people have grown up in the circumstances that they didn't choose and how they were raised. But really speaking to the character of Dolly, she has a song called in the good old days when times were bad. And she has this paradoxical kind of, she has this ability to hold both hands out and say, I can look back on my life with hunger, brutal field work, the crops being destroyed by hail, but still calls them the good old days. Doesn't sugarcoat them, doesn't remove the bitterness. And that ability to honor where she came from, but not to glorify how hard it was. And we see in her example, you wouldn't think, looking at the makeup and the rhinestones and the hair and the body and this persona, as someone that has humility.
Deep,
she was
deep,
the embodiment of humility.
Yeah.
The embodiment of it. She never minced words about her history and where she came from, nor did she deny how openly and how she said out loud that I am going to make it big. She took off at 18 to go to Nashville. I'm not coming back until I make it big. I want fame, fortune, everything that comes with it. But her fuel source for that, people might judge that as vanity, might judge that as overambition, as judge that in these neck of the woods being too big for your britches. And she goes, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. And she did it, and she got it, and she had to claw her way, because there were no female country music stars. You had Loretta Lynn, and you had a couple other like folk singers. You had June Carter, but they were the backup. They were the side piece. They were the addition. And you saw this when she was on the Porter Wagner show, and Porter Wagner would say, and now for our next song, we got the little lady Dolly Parton, like just how women were minimized in so many ways. And she busted through that. She broke through that. She had a naked, stated ambition, didn't apologize for it, but nobody experienced her as arrogant.
Yeah, right.
Yet we see this all the time in our spaces. This has been a part of my story, and I've been learning in this stage of life to let it go, is that we will demonstrate and become fluent in this fake humility of like, I got lucky, or the timing just happened to line up. And it's like, well, what if you actually owned that you wanted something, you went for it, you got it? And can you own that without hedging, without minimizing, without polishing the rough edges of the story? And instead just being like, I wanted it, I went for it, I got it, and I am proud of myself, because it gave me the ability to be an example for others to do the same, and just leave it at that.
Hey, it's Boysen. Sorry to interrupt. I'm jumping in with an invitation. If you've listened to a single episode of this podcast, you've heard me or Brandon talk about the Mankind Project. It's a global community committed to one simple but very complicated idea. We're men helping other men to become better men. One of the ways we make shift happen is through a weekend rite of passage called the New Warrior Training Adventure. It's not a retreat, it's not a workshop, it's an intensive, it's a digital detox, it's a crazy ride, it's a uniquely life-changing space. And it's a chance to step away from the regular world, tell the truth about where you are, and discover what's possible, surrounded by men, some of whom have been right where you are right now. And if you're a friend, a partner, a wife, a mom, or a grandma who loves a man, maybe he's waiting for an invitation. Share it with him. You can learn more at mkpusa.org.
Nice. And I think that connects really well with something else that we were talking about before we started recording. But the idea of struggle and success and failure And in interviews that I was watching from Dolly yesterday, she was extraordinarily clear about the fact that she didn't care about failure. Like, she looked backwards and she said, yeah, where I came from, where everything that I've been through, where all the hard stuff and the suffering that I went through, like, look where I am now. If I fail, so what? I know I'm going to get back up. Right? If something goes wrong, no biggie. I know I'm going to get back up. And that kind of determination, self-awareness, there was a self-awareness about it, right? Like, she's like, okay, no big deal. And with the bigness, I also want to say, like, persona. We talk about persona on the Mankind Project podcast. We talk about the masks we wear. Again, self-awareness. She knew, and she was absolutely open all the time about the mask.
Yeah.
Right? And she knew, she was consciously putting this on. I do this because it's fun. I do this because I choose to be big. I do this because this gets me seen. I do this because, but that wasn't really who she is. And again, it's that the distinction between the persona and the person, the persona and the authenticity that was there.
So many would, one of the risks in being willing to stand in the center and be seen and give your gifts is you're also, when you're in the same position to be admired and loved and enjoyed, you're also in the same position to have stones thrown at you and to be ridiculed.
Perfect. And how she handled
and there was no shortage of vocal voices that were willing to try and tear her down. And they would call her a dumb blonde. And she would just turn around and say, just very nonchalant, I'm not dumb, nor am I blonde. Nor am I blonde, but I have these gifts that I want to give to the world. And she wasn't going to let naysayers or haters get in the way of that, because it would then get in the way of her giving her gifts. She obviously amassed an extraordinary amount of wealth. I mean, her brand is stated to be over $1 billion, just the value of her brand.
Beautiful.
But she didn't treat fame and fortune as as trophies. She treated them as tools.
Yeah.
She was a throughput of it. The finances came in so that she could then fund the missions and the intentions and the things that were most important to her. And as you know, in my coaching practice and in my facilitation, and I've shared this many times on the show, where my gifts lie, where my joy is finding the hidden experts of the world who they've got the reps, they've got the experience, they've come from nothing or they've come from something, and they're choosing to take the gifts that they have, whether they were given or earned, and put it out into the world. And a big part of that is getting out of the way in order to do that. And it makes you recognize the resourcefulness around you and what you can leverage in your voice, in your image, with your brand, and how you can leverage your resources in order to amplify that impact. And like you said, the persona, that was just a vessel. That was a vessel. Now, she was notoriously private. Like like many of us didn't know she was sick. I know 5 months ago she did a video and she was just like, I'm just getting my oil checked to make sure everything's ticking, And what we didn't know, she was battling cancer. And even in the passing of her husband, it was a very private affair. I know that Jane Fonda, in an interview, stated that on the set of 9 to 5, she would come out, she would do her thing, and she'd go straight to a camper. There was no after hours. There was no she knew the role that she was here to play. She knew the impact she was here to have. 9 to 5 was very important to her because of equality in the workplace. She experienced it head on, being in a very male-dominated industry and a very male-dominated area of entertainment, being country music.
Country music, yeah.
And so she wanted to be someone that could kick the door open for other women. so that they could have equity in the workplace. So there's so much in this that just speaks to me at my core, and why we are so proud to expose our daughter to Dolly's music and Dolly's image and impact is I never want to see my daughter dim her light, nor my son for that matter. But it's really more an impact on Bindi that don't let me or anyone else put boundaries on what's possible for you, because there is a role model right there in 80 years of living of what's possible, even when you start out with the greatest of handicaps.
Yeah. There's something to be said for the fact that, and you kind of pointed at it, she also wasn't afraid to standing in the center. She did get lots of stones thrown at her, and she took principled stands over and over and over.
Yes.
Around, from equal rights in the workplace to, she had an incredibly simple statement when somebody asked her about Black Lives Matter. And she said something, of course Black Lives Matter. You think it's just our white asses that are more important? and move on. It's like there's something, she took principled stands and she kept moving. And when people in the industry tried to set her up to have beefs, to set her up to be in conflict, she did beautiful things with that. So Whitney Houston, right? I Will Always Love You. Whitney Houston did a cover of that song. That was a Dolly Parton song. The industry tried to play them off of each other and make that there was beef and da-da-da-da-da. So what Dolly did with that is Dolly made over $10 million in royalties from Whitney Houston's version of I Will Always Love You. And she built a housing complex in Nashville for primarily Black residents of Nashville and called it the house that Whitney built.
The house that Whitney built.
Yeah. So no controversy, right? And then Miley Cyrus did a cover of Jolene. That's a spectacular cover. Fantastic. Oh, she's going to take Dolly's fire. She's going to do it. Nah, bullshit. Dolly just gets on stage with her.
Yeah.
To share it.
Dolly was her godmother.
Oh, that's brilliant. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Dolly helped launch Billy Ray Cyrus and mentored him. And so, yeah. Just, again, boom. No Miley. no Dolly, no Miley. Right? There's, I think, a lot to pull there. She was an icon also for the LGBTQ population as well. An absolute icon. And I love, like you said, she would make her principled stances and move on. She never got stuck in the long, drawn-out, complicated, nuanced dialogue of certain issues. She would just say that, of all people, she goes, I have them in my organization. I have them at Dollywood. I have them in my family. I don't judge them. I love them. And then that's it. Move on. Just one of the purest examples of signal and not noise. Just pure signal without the noise. It's, yeah. I want to share this. This was the beauty of just pure minds and my daughter. I've never shied away on this show from sharing that I am intentionally choosing to investigate my faith, my relationship with another source. My wife is Christian. My mother-in-law lives with us. She is Christian. And I made the conscious decision to raise my daughter Christian, even though I wouldn't call myself one. And it has been one of the most beautiful things to witness my daughter just learn stories from the Bible, and just I think we can broadly speak to the morality that comes from Christian teachings. And I'm not talking about Bible thumping, fire and brimstone, like you're going to hell kind of. I'm talking what most of us know of the Christians in our worlds being just loving, open, kind. And when I found out about Dolly, I was like, oh, this is Bindy's Santa Claus. Like,
yeah.
And so I sat down with Bindy preparing for this, like, my daughter's nearly 4, so she's like not quite a toddler. She's exiting toddler.
Yeah.
I told her, I said, Bindy, I want to let you know that Dolly Parton died yesterday. And she goes, so she's in heaven? And I said, yeah, she's in heaven. She goes, well, she's not dead. It was like the most beautiful, like, just not even think, she's not dead. She's like, can we still listen to her music? And I'm like, yes. And she goes, yay, Alexa, play Dolly Parton. Like, that quick. And just so beautiful. Because she's not dead. In physical form, sure. But every time you hear A Coat of Many Colors, every time you hear Jolene on the radio, which, by the way, renowned, like, Jolene is renowned as a perfect song. Rick Rubin will tell you that as well as anyone else. Like, perfect. Next time you listen to that song, put it on and really just listen to the depths of it, the bass line. Like, it is a phenomenal creation. But every time you listen to one of those songs, just know the story behind it. It goes beyond the context of the song. It goes to the little girl that had a voice and a gift, and an uncle that saw something in that gift and exposed her to opportunities to do something with said gift. And look what that gift has turned into, the impact of billions of lives, and the continuation of that impact, I believe we're going to feel and we're going to witness to the end of time.
Absolutely. Yes. And just as we wrap, I'll also, shouts to the Gen Xers in the room, and say Dolly Parton was was a foundational figure of, an icon of what womanhood could look like, which is very interesting for a young boy growing up in that era. But also there was a relational thing. So I got to witness the Dolly Parton Kenny Rogers, and Dolly Parton Burt Reynolds, and Dolly Parton kind of those images of singers relating to each other or performers relating to each other in an authentic way through the variety shows that were on when I was a kid. And Miss Piggy and Kermit, who are, of course, icons to all of us as Gen Xers. And Miss Piggy was largely, let's just say they may have taken some inspiration from Dolly Parton in the development of Miss Piggy. All of that kind of stuff. But it's just, there's all of that recognition. And the impact, as you said, you can't overlook the impact. Tens of millions of lives changed. Tens of millions, if not more, money. I mean, the amount of philanthropy that she did and her foundation, her family will continue to do now. Yeah, it's amazing. Miss you, Dolly.
Absolutely. Beautiful, man. Well, I'm going to finish on this. Some lines from Dolly. The times were bad and they were good. Both were true at once. And I want to prove that the two don't have to live in conflict. Wanting more and honoring where you're from, getting rich and giving it away, being the joke but nobody's full. And so I think the question that I'm pondering, and perhaps you all listening can ponder, is that whatever your North Star is, don't question whether you're going to make it, because most of you listening probably already have. The real question is, when you look backwards, what story does that tell? Rather than the story you're going to tell, what does the story tell when you look back? And I mean, let that be the trajectory. Let that be the measure going forward. Really enjoyed this, Boysen. Thanks for joining me on this. And yeah, this has been a treat. I love sharing the mic with you.
Good to see you, Brandon. Hey, everybody. Thank you for continuing to listen to the Mankind Podcast. Thank you for getting on close to 270 episodes now. Thank you for continuing to like and share and subscribe and review the Mankind Podcast.
The show where we break the molds of modern manhood to prove
that there is indeed more than one way to be a man.
Beautiful. Lots of love. See you next week.
Peace.
This has been another episode of the Mankind Podcast, produced in association with the Mankind Project USA. We have been your host, Boysen Hodgson, and myself, Brandon Clift, and we want to thank our guests for joining us today and imparting their wisdom from their experiences in this amazing journey called life. If you want to find out more about today's guests and support them in their mission, you can find links to them in the show notes. Now, if you have found gold and insights that you believe could benefit your loved ones and those you care about, be sure to share it with them. And of course, we are always grateful for a rating and review of the show on iTunes. Now, above all else, we've got to thank you, the listener, because through your attention and your support, you have made it possible for us to let men all over the world know that they are not alone and that there is more than one way to be a man. And if something in this episode has touched you, then perhaps it is the call to action to get involved in men's work. With live trainings happening constantly and in-person trainings happening all over the world, the Mankind Project definitely has something for you. Now, if you've enjoyed the music in this episode and all of our episodes, be sure to check out Jim Donovan and the Sun King Warriors. I have links to them in the show notes. And lastly, just know, what it means to me to be a man is completely different than what it means for you. That is the beauty of this journey. So if you are looking for guidance, support, and community as you begin to unpack and dive deeper into your men's work journey, then you know where to find us. Same place, same time, next week. Lots of love. We'll see you then.
Hey, it's Boysen. On the Mankind Podcast, we've brought some incredible guests on to talk about the importance of doing the work to improve our mental and emotional health. And here's the truth. Multiple times over the last 25 years, I've had the help of one-on-one work with some amazing therapists. For me, for my wife, for both of us as adoptive parents, and for our kids. The Mankind Project and Men's Group, though awesome, are not a substitute for professional mental health support. And so I'm thrilled that the Mankind Podcast now has BetterHelp as a sponsor for the show. BetterHelp works online. It asks you what you're working on and then matches you for live one-on-one sessions with a licensed therapist, someone trained to work with you, listen, and offer helpful insights. I'm using BetterHelp. It's super easy, and I like what I'm getting. If getting one-on-one support in the comfort of your own space feels like a good direction for you, I invite you to check it out. Go to the link in the show notes or betterhelp.com/mankind. And if you sign up, you'll get 10% off your first month of therapy.